If you're over 40 and sometimes wonder if you're making fashion choices that work against you, you're asking the right question. Here's the thing, most men your age aren't even thinking about this. They've settled into habits, stopped paying attention, or convinced themselves that appearance doesn't matter anymore. But you're here because you understand that how you present yourself still impacts every interaction you have. Today, I'm going to share the 10 most common fashion mistakes that women tell me make men over 40 less attractive. These aren't my opinions. These come from real conversations with women about what immediately catches their attention in the wrong way. The good news? Every single one of these mistakes is completely fixable. You don't need a new wardrobe or a complete style overhaul. Most of these are simple adjustments that can dramatically improve how others perceive you. And here's what I find encouraging. The fact that you're watching this already puts you ahead of most men who've stopped caring about their appearance. Mistake number 1. Wearing clothes that don't fit your current body. Let's start with the mistake I hear about most often from women. Wearing clothes that clearly don't fit your body as it is today. Here's what women tell me. I can always tell when a man is wearing clothes from 20 pounds ago, or when he's trying to hide his body in clothes that are way too big. Listen, your body has probably changed since your 20s or 30s. That's completely normal and nothing to be ashamed of. But continuing to wear clothes sized for a different version of yourself sends the wrong message entirely. This shows up in two ways, and both work against you. Some men wear clothes that are too tight because they refuse to accept their current size. Others go the opposite direction and wear everything oversized, thinking it's more flattering or will hide problem areas. Here's what actually works. Clothes that fit your body as it is right now. Not too tight, not swimming in fabric. When your shirt fits properly, it should skim your torso, close enough to show you have a shape, loose enough to be comfortable and move naturally. Women specifically mention that they find it attractive when a man clearly accepts and works with his current body, rather than fighting against it or trying to hide it. Confidence in your own skin, expressed through properly fitted clothes, is infinitely more attractive than trying to squeeze into old sizes or drowning in oversized clothing. The psychological impact matters too. When your clothes fit well, you move differently, stand taller, feel more comfortable. Women notice this confidence immediately. Here's a practical approach. If you've gained or lost weight, don't hold on to clothes that no longer fit properly, hoping you'll return to that size. Invest in clothes that fit you now. If your size changes again in the future, you can adjust then. And remember, a well-fitted shirt from a budget store looks better than an expensive shirt that fits poorly. Fit trumps everything else when it comes to looking put together and attractive. But speaking of fit, there's another sizing mistake that women say makes men look significantly older than they are. Mistake number 2. Choosing the wrong collar size and style. Here's a mistake that might seem small but makes a huge impact on how attractive you look. Wearing collars that are the wrong size or style for your face and neck. Women consistently tell me they notice when a man's collar looks uncomfortable, too tight, or completely wrong for his face shape. And here's the thing, getting this wrong can instantly add years to your appearance. Let's start with collar size on dress shirts. If you can barely button your collar or it's tight around your neck, it's too small, period. This creates an uncomfortable look that women find immediately off-putting. But if your collar is so loose that there's a huge gap, or it looks like you're drowning in fabric, that's equally problematic. The right collar size should allow you to fit one finger comfortably between your neck and the collar when it's buttoned. Not tight, not loose, just comfortable. But size is only part of the equation. Collar style matters enormously for your face shape, and this is where most men over 40 go wrong without realizing it. If you have a rounder face, narrow collars will be more flattering because they create vertical lines that lengthen your appearance. Wide collars will make a round face look even rounder. If you have a longer, thinner face, wider collars can add some horizontal balance. Women specifically mention that they notice when a man's collar complements his face rather than competing with it. It's subtle, but it makes the difference between looking polished and looking like something's just slightly off. Here's what many men don't realize. Collar points that are too long can look outdated and formal in casual settings. Collar points that are too short can look juvenile. The sweet spot for most men over 40 is a medium collar point that works in both business and casual settings. The spread of the collar, how far apart the collar points sit, also matters. A wider spread works well if you plan to wear ties regularly. A narrower spread looks better for casual, open collar wear. Women also notice when men wear collars that clearly haven't been cared for properly. Frayed collar edges, collars that won't lay flat, or collars with permanent wrinkles suggest neglect and inattention to detail. Here's a practical tip. If you're unsure about collar styles, stick with classic, moderate options. They work in more situations and won't look outdated in a few years. Extreme collar styles, whether too narrow, too wide, or too unusual, are harder to pull off and more likely to look wrong. The condition of your collar matters too. Keep collar stays in dress shirt collars to maintain their shape. Make sure collars lay flat and look crisp. These details suggest you pay attention to how you present yourself. But collar issues are just one part of a bigger problem I see with men over 40, and that's trying to dress for a different decade. Mistake number 3, dressing for the wrong decade. Here's a mistake that women mention frequently. Men who are clearly dressing for a different era, either trying to recapture their youth or stuck in outdated styles from decades past. This shows up in 2 ways, and both work against you. Some men over 40 try to dress like they're still in their 20s, wearing styles meant for much younger men. Others get stuck in whatever was fashionable when they were younger and never update their look. Here's what women tell me. When I see a man over 40 trying to dress like a college student, it's not attractive. It looks like he's having a crisis or doesn't accept his age. But they also say, when a man looks like he stopped paying attention to style 20 years ago, it suggests he's given up on himself. The key is dressing for who you are now, not who you were or who you think you should be. Your style should reflect maturity, confidence, and current relevance without trying to be trendy or youthful. Specific examples of trying too young: skinny jeans that are clearly too tight, graphic t-shirts with slogans or bands, baseball caps worn backwards, overly distressed clothing, or anything that looks like it belongs in a fraternity house. On the flip side, dressing too far in the past might include overly baggy clothes from the 90s, outdated cut suits with wide lapels, pleated pants with excessive fabric, or shoes that clearly haven't been updated in decades. Women specifically appreciate when a man's style feels current but age-appropriate. This means understanding what works for your stage of life while still looking modern and relevant. Here's what actually works: classic styles with contemporary fits. For example, choose straight leg or slim, not skinny, pants instead of baggy or extremely tight. Opt for solid colors and subtle patterns instead of loud graphics. Select modern cuts on traditional pieces like blazers or button-down shirts. The goal is timeless, with a contemporary edge. You want to look like a man who understands style evolution, but isn't chasing every trend or trying to recapture his youth. Color choices matter here too. While you don't need to avoid all bright colors, your palette should generally be more sophisticated than what you wore in your 20s. Think deeper, richer tones rather than neon brights or primary colors. Women mention that they find it attractive when a man's style suggests he's comfortable with his age and stage of life. This doesn't mean boring or conservative. It means appropriately sophisticated and confident. But speaking of sophistication, there's one area where many men over 40 completely miss the mark, and it's something women notice immediately. Mistake number 4, ignoring the power of proper grooming. Here's a mistake that can completely undermine even the best wardrobe choices: neglecting proper grooming habits that become even more important as you age. Women consistently tell me that grooming is just as important as clothing choices, especially for men over 40. Here's why. As you age, attention to grooming details becomes a sign of self-respect and consideration for others. Let's start with the obvious but often ignored: hair management. This includes hair that's growing where it shouldn't be and hair that's disappearing where you wish it wasn't. Nose hair, ear hair, eyebrow hair that's gotten wild. Women notice all of this immediately. It takes 5 minutes with a good trimmer to address these issues, but ignoring them suggests you've stopped paying attention to how you present yourself. If you're losing hair on top, work with what you have rather than fighting against it. Comb-over attempts, toupees that don't look natural, or hair that's clearly styled to hide balding areas are less attractive than simply accepting and working with your current hair situation. Facial hair requires consistent attention too. If you have a beard or mustache, it needs to be trimmed, shaped, and maintained regularly. Scraggly, unkempt facial hair suggests neglect. Clean-shaven means actually clean-shaven, not just skipping a day or two. Women specifically mention that they notice when a man's grooming is consistent and intentional rather than haphazard or neglected. Skincare becomes more important as you age, not less. This doesn't mean complicated routines, but basic care makes a significant difference. Clean, moisturized skin looks healthier and more attractive than dry, neglected skin. Dental hygiene is non-negotiable. Clean teeth, fresh breath, and attention to overall oral health become increasingly important as you age. Nothing kills attraction faster than poor dental hygiene. Nail care matters more than most men realize. Clean, trimmed fingernails suggest attention to detail. Dirty or overly long nails suggest the opposite. Here's what women tell me about grooming. I can forgive a lot about a man's outfit if he's clearly taking care of himself. But if his grooming is neglected, even expensive clothes won't help. The psychological impact is significant too. When you're well groomed, you feel more confident and comfortable in social situations. This confidence is attractive in itself. Body odor deserves special mention. This isn't just about wearing deodorant, though that's essential. It's about being completely clean and fresh. Shower regularly, use quality soap, wear clean clothes, and yes, wear deodorant that actually works for your body chemistry. Here's a practical approach. Establish daily grooming habits that become automatic. Trim nose and ear hair weekly. Keep eyebrows under control. Maintain facial hair consistently. These small habits compound to create a polished appearance. But while grooming forms your foundation, there's one clothing choice that women say immediately dates a man and makes him look less attractive. Mistake number 5. Wearing outdated shoe styles. Here's a mistake that women notice immediately, but men often overlook completely: wearing shoes that are clearly outdated or inappropriate for your age. Women consistently tell me that shoes are one of the first things they notice about a man, and outdated shoe styles can instantly make you look older, less stylish, and out of touch. Let's start with athletic shoes worn in non-athletic situations. This is probably the most common shoe mistake I see from men over 40. Wearing running shoes, basketball shoes, or obviously athletic sneakers with casual clothes suggests you've stopped caring about appropriateness and context. Here's what women tell me. When I see a man over 40 wearing athletic shoes with jeans and a nice shirt, it looks like he got dressed in the dark or just doesn't understand how to put an outfit together. But outdated dress shoes are equally problematic. Square-toed dress shoes, shoes with excessive stitching or embellishments, or shoes that clearly haven't been updated in decades can make even a good outfit look dated. Overly casual shoes in inappropriate settings is another common mistake. Flip-flops, slides, or beach shoes outside of actual beach or pool settings suggest poor judgment about context and appropriateness. Here's what actually works for men over 40. Classic shoe styles in quality materials that are appropriate for the situation. Leather dress shoes for formal occasions, clean leather sneakers, or loafers for casual situations. Boots that are styled appropriately for your wardrobe. Women specifically mention that they find quality leather shoes attractive because they suggest attention to detail and investment in appearance. But the key word is quality. Cheap leather shoes that look obviously inexpensive can be worse than well-maintained casual shoes. The condition of your shoes matters enormously. Scuffed, dirty, or obviously worn-out shoes suggest neglect and lack of attention to detail. Women notice this immediately. Color choices matter too. Brown leather shoes are more versatile and approachable than black for casual and business casual situations. Black shoes are more formal and work best with formal wear. White or very light shoes can work for casual summer situations but require careful coordination. Here's a practical approach. Invest in a few pairs of quality shoes that work for your lifestyle rather than many cheap pairs. A good leather dress shoe, a quality casual shoe like loafers or clean sneakers, maybe boots if they fit your style. Maintain them well and replace them when they're worn beyond repair. The psychological impact of good shoes is real. Quality shoes that are well maintained make you walk differently, stand taller, and feel more confident. Women notice this confidence in how you carry yourself, but shoes are just one part of a larger issue with accessories. And there's one accessory mistake that women say makes men look immediately less sophisticated. Mistake number 6. Choosing the wrong belt and watch combinations. Here's a mistake that shows a lack of attention to detail. Wearing belt and watch combinations that clearly don't work together or don't match the formality of your outfit. Women consistently notice when a man's accessories work together harmoniously versus when they seem random or mismatched. Here's what they tell me. When his belt and watch work together, it shows he pays attention to details. When they clash, it looks careless. The most common mistake is mixing metals inappropriately. If you're wearing a silver-toned watch, your belt buckle should complement that, not compete with gold or brass tones. If your watch is gold-toned, your belt hardware should work with that choice. But metal matching is just the beginning. The style and formality of your belt should match your watch and the overall outfit. A sporty digital watch doesn't work with a formal leather belt and dress pants. A dressy watch looks odd with a casual canvas belt and shorts. Women specifically mention mention that they notice when accessories seem intentional rather than accidental. This doesn't mean everything needs to be perfectly matched, but it should feel coordinated and thoughtful. Belt quality matters enormously. A cheap belt that's obviously synthetic, poorly made, or showing wear suggests lack of attention to quality. A good leather belt that's well maintained suggests the opposite. Here's what many men get wrong. They buy belts that are too wide or too narrow for their body type and outfit style. A belt should be proportional to your body and appropriate for the formality of your clothes. The condition of your belt matters just as much as the style. Belts that are cracked, faded, or have worn edges suggest neglect. The buckle should be clean and free of scratches or tarnish. Watch and outfit coordination is crucial too. A sports watch with a business suit looks inappropriate. A formal dress watch with athletic wear looks equally wrong. The watch should complement the overall formality and style of your outfit. Size matters for both accessories. Your watch should be proportional to your wrist, not overwhelmingly large or insignificantly small. Your belt should fit properly without being too tight or having excess length that looks sloppy. Women also notice when men wear accessories that are clearly low quality. This doesn't mean everything needs to be expensive, but it should look well made and intentional rather than cheap or careless. Here's a practical approach. Invest in one really good belt in brown leather and one in black leather. Choose watches that work with your lifestyle and coordinate with your typical accessories. Quality basics will serve you better than multiple cheap options. The psychological impact matters too. When your accessories work together harmoniously, it suggests attention to detail and intentionality in other areas of your life, which women find attractive. But accessory coordination is just one aspect of a bigger problem, and that's not understanding how colors work together in your wardrobe. Mistake number 7. Poor color coordination and choices. Here's a mistake that can make even well-fitted clothes look wrong. Poor color choices and coordination that work against your appearance rather than enhancing it. Women consistently tell me they notice when a man's colors work together harmoniously versus when they seem random or clashing. Here's what they say. When his colors complement each other and suit him, he looks put together and intentional. When they don't, everything looks off. The most common color mistake is wearing colors that don't complement your skin tone. Colors that wash you out or make you look tired or unhealthy are working against you, no matter how fashionable they might be. For most men over 40, this means avoiding colors that are too bright, too neon, or too harsh for your complexion. As you age, softer, richer colors are generally more flattering than stark, bright ones. Another common mistake is combining colors that compete rather than complement each other. Multiple bright colors in one outfit, patterns that clash, or color combinations that are jarring rather than harmonious. Here's what actually works. Build your wardrobe around a cohesive color palette. Choose a few colors that work well with your skin tone and coordinate well with each other. Navy, gray, white, and brown form an excellent foundation because they work together in multiple combinations. Women specifically mention that they find it attractive when a man's color choices seem intentional and sophisticated rather than random or careless. This doesn't mean boring, it means thoughtful. Understanding which colors complement your skin tone makes an enormous difference. Warmer skin tones generally look better in earth tones, warm browns, and colors with yellow undertones. Cooler skin tones work better with blues, grays, and colors with blue undertones. The 60-30-10 rule works well for color coordination. 60% of your outfit should be a neutral color, 30% a complementary color, and 10% an accent color if you choose to use one. Black deserves special mention because it's often overused by men who think it's always sophisticated. While black can work well, it's not universally flattering and can sometimes be too harsh, especially for casual situations. Seasonal appropriateness matters too. Light colors in winter or dark, heavy colors in summer can look out of sync with the environment and suggest poor judgment about context. Women also notice when men wear colors that clearly don't suit their age or lifestyle. Colors that are too youthful or too trendy can look like you're trying too hard rather than being authentic. Here's a practical approach. Start with neutral foundations and add color strategically. A navy shirt with gray pants works better than trying to coordinate multiple bold colors. Build confidence with color slowly rather than making dramatic changes all at once. The psychological impact of good color choices is significant. Colors that complement your skin tone make you look healthier, more energetic, and more attractive. Colors that work against you have the opposite effect, but color coordination extends to patterns too, and that's another area where men over 40 often struggle. Mistake number 8. Misunderstanding pattern mixing and proportions. Here's a mistake that can make an otherwise good outfit look chaotic. Poor pattern choices and mixing patterns in ways that compete rather than complement each other. Women consistently tell me they notice when patterns work together harmoniously versus when they create visual chaos. Here's what they say. When patterns are done well, it looks sophisticated and intentional. When they're done poorly, it's distracting and suggests he doesn't understand how to put an outfit together. The most common pattern mistake is mixing patterns of similar scales that compete for attention. Two busy patterns of the same size create visual confusion rather than sophistication. Another frequent error is mixing patterns with no unifying element. Different colors, different scales, different styles that have nothing in common and therefore look random rather than intentional. Here's what actually works. If you're mixing patterns, they should have different scales and at least one unifying element, usually color. A small scale pattern can work with a large scale pattern if they share colors or tones. For men over 40, the safest approach to patterns is often restraint. One pattern per outfit, with the rest of the pieces in solid colors that complement the pattern, works better than trying to mix multiple patterns. Women specifically mention that they appreciate when pattern choices seem appropriate for the man's age and lifestyle. Loud, juvenile patterns can make a mature man look like he's having a crisis or doesn't understand appropriateness. Stripe width matters more than most men realize. Very thin stripes can look busy and create visual vibration. Very wide stripes can be overwhelming. Medium width stripes are generally more flattering and versatile. Plaid and check patterns require careful handling. Small scale plaids can work well for casual situations, but large scale plaids can be overwhelming, especially on men with larger builds. Polka dots, if you choose to wear them, should be small and subtle. Large polka dots can look costume-like rather than sophisticated. Here's something many men don't consider. Patterns photograph differently than they appear in person. What looks fine in the mirror might be distracting or unflattering in photos, which is increasingly important in our image-conscious world. The scale of patterns should also complement your body type. Men with larger builds generally look better in larger scale patterns, while smaller men are better served by smaller scale patterns. Women also notice when patterns are appropriate for the occasion. Loud or casual patterns in professional settings or overly formal patterns in casual situations suggest poor judgment about context. Here's a practical approach. Master solid colors first, then add patterns gradually. Start with subtle patterns like thin stripes or small checks, then experiment with bolder patterns as you build confidence and understanding. The condition of patterned clothing matters too. Patterns that are faded, stretched, or distorted suggest neglect and age the garment prematurely. But pattern issues are often connected to a bigger problem, not understanding how different pieces work together to create a cohesive look. Mistake number 9, not understanding occasion-appropriate dressing. Here's a mistake that women say immediately signals poor judgment: dressing inappropriately for the situation or occasion. Women consistently tell me they notice when a man understands context and dresses appropriately versus when he seems oblivious to what the situation requires. Here's what they say. When a man is appropriately dressed for the occasion, it shows he understands social situations and respects other people. When he's not, it suggests poor judgment. This shows up in multiple ways, all of which work against you. Overdressing for casual situations makes you look out of touch or like you're trying too hard. Underdressing for more formal situations suggests you don't understand or respect the context. Common examples of inappropriate dressing: wearing shorts and flip-flops to a nice restaurant, wearing a suit to a backyard barbecue, wearing athletic wear to non-athletic social situations, or wearing overly casual clothes to professional events. The key is understanding the unwritten dress codes of different situations and respecting them. This doesn't mean you can't have personal style, but your style should work within appropriate parameters for the context. Women specifically mention that they find it attractive when a man clearly understands what different situations require. It suggests social intelligence and consideration for others. Business casual is where many men over 40 struggle because the guidelines aren't as clear as formal business wear. The key is looking polished and professional without being overly formal. Think dress pants with a nice shirt, maybe a sweater or casual blazer. Casual social situations have their own requirements too. You want to look like you made an effort without being overdressed. Clean, well-fitted clothes in appropriate styles and colors. Dating requires understanding the specific context. A coffee date calls for different attire than a dinner date, which requires different clothes than a casual activity date. Family events often have unspoken dress codes that depend on your family's culture and the specific event. Understanding and respecting these expectations shows maturity and consideration situation. Seasonal appropriateness matters too. Wearing heavy materials in summer or light materials in winter can look out of sync with the environment and suggest poor judgment. Here's what many men don't realize. Being appropriately dressed makes other people more comfortable around you. When you fit the context, people can focus on you as a person rather than being distracted by inappropriate clothing choices. Women also notice when men dress appropriately for their role in different situations. If you're hosting, you might dress slightly more formally than your guests. If you're a guest, you should respect the tone set by the host. Age-appropriate dressing within different contexts is crucial too. What's appropriate for a 25-year-old might not be appropriate for a 45-year-old in the same situation. Here's a practical approach. When in doubt about what to wear, it's generally better to be slightly overdressed than underdressed. People rarely fault you for making an effort, but they often notice when you haven't made enough effort. The psychological impact is significant. When you're appropriately dressed, you feel more confident and comfortable in social situations. When you're inappropriately dressed, you often feel self-conscious, which affects your interactions with others. But even when you get the occasion right, there's one final mistake that can undermine all your other efforts. Mistake number 10. Neglecting the details that complete your look. Here's the final mistake that can sabotage even the best outfit choices. Neglecting the small details that women notice and that complete your overall presentation. Women consistently tell me that they notice details, even when they can't articulate exactly what looks right or wrong about a man's appearance. Here's what they say. It's the little things that show whether a man really cares about how he presents himself. Let's start with the most common detail failures. Clothes that are wrinkled, stained, or obviously need cleaning suggest neglect and lack of attention to your appearance. This applies to everything from shirts that look slept in to pants with obvious spots. Loose threads, missing buttons, or small repairs that haven't been addressed suggest you don't maintain what you own. These tiny details compound to create an overall impression of carelessness. Socks matter more than most men realize. Socks that don't match your outfit, socks that are too short and show leg when you sit, or socks that are worn out or have holes all work against your overall presentation. The length of your pants affects your entire silhouette. Pants that are too long create a sloppy appearance. Pants that are too short look like you've outgrown them. The hem should just graze the top of your shoes with a slight break. Sleeve length on shirts and jackets affects how polished you look. Sleeves that are too long swallow your hands and make you look smaller. Sleeves that are too short look like you've outgrown your clothes. Women specifically notice when all the details work together to create a polished, intentional appearance. When details are neglected, even expensive clothes can look cheap or careless. Collar condition deserves special mention. Frayed collars, collars that won't lay flat, or collars with permanent stains or discoloration immediately age your appearance and suggest poor maintenance. The condition of your clothes matters enormously. Fabrics that are pilled, faded, or stretched out suggest it's time for replacement, regardless of how much you paid for the item originally. Proper storage and care habits make an enormous difference in how long your clothes look good. Hanging clothes properly, using appropriate hangers, and storing clothes clean all contribute to maintaining their appearance. Women also notice when men pay attention to seasonal details. Wearing winter fabrics in summer or summer fabrics in winter looks out of sync and suggests poor judgment about appropriateness. The fit of undergarments affects how your outer clothes look. Visible lines from poorly fitting underwear, undershirts that show through dress shirts inappropriately, or undergarments that affect the drape of your outer clothes all work against your appearance. Here's something many men overlook. The back view of your outfit matters too. Clothes that look good from the front but poor from behind, or details that only become apparent from certain angles, affect your overall presentation. Scent details matter beyond just cologne. Clothes that smell like they need washing, breath that isn't fresh, or other hygiene details that suggest neglect all work against your attractiveness. Here's a practical approach. Develop daily and weekly habits that maintain these details automatically. Check your appearance from multiple angles before leaving home. Address small maintenance issues before they become bigger problems. The psychological impact of attention to detail is significant. When all the small details are handled well, you project an image of competence and self-respect that women find attractive. When details are neglected, even good major choices are undermined. Listen, avoiding these 10 fashion mistakes isn't about becoming someone you're not or spending a fortune on clothes. It's about understanding what works against you and making simple adjustments that dramatically improve how others perceive you. If you found this helpful and want more specific guidance on building a wardrobe that works for your lifestyle, make sure to subscribe for more content like this. And I'm curious, which of these mistakes hit hit closest to home for you? What's the first change you're planning to make? Let me know in the comments below. Your honest feedback helps me create content that addresses the real challenges men face with style and appearance. Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional and authentic. Making these adjustments while staying true to who you are will serve you well in every area of your life.